Hey there, fellow bookworms. We all have that little spark of curiosity about how reading can actually benefit our lives, right?
It's definitely more than just a hobby.
For sure. And today, we're taking a deep dive into a blog post called Reading Books, a journey of personal and intellectual growth.
Oh, interesting title.
Right. It really caught my eye. We're going to unpack those specific ways reading can level up your life. Like, not just the vague knowledge is power stuff, but the tangible benefits, the things you can actually feel.
Yeah, I think a lot of people are curious about that. Like, how does reading actually change things?
Exactly. So one of the first things this blog post dives into is vocabulary.
Yeah, that's a classic one. We all know reading exposes us to new words.
But I think what's cool is how it talks about the difference between simply knowing words and being able to effectively use them.
Oh, that's a good point. Like, it's one thing to recognize a word when you see it.
Right.
But it's a whole other skill to actually weave it into your own conversations, to express yourself with more nuance.
Totally. It's like having all these amazing tools in your communication toolbox, but not knowing how to use them.
I like that analogy. The more you read, the more diverse and robust that toolbox becomes.
Exactly. Now, the blog post also touches on the classic idea of reading being a workout for your brain.
I mean, we've all heard that one, right?
Yeah. But it actually goes a step further by connecting it to specific cognitive skills.
Like what?
Like critical thinking, problem solving, concentration, even memory.
Oh, interesting. I can see how that would work. Reading isn't just about passively absorbing information. You have to actively engage with the text.
Right. You're visualizing scenes, making connections, maybe even trying to predict what's going to happen next.
And all of that is strengthening those mental muscles.
Totally. So it's not just about being able to remember facts from a textbook.
No, it's about training your brain to tackle any problem you face.
Whether it's at work, in your personal life, even just navigating a tricky situation.
Exactly. And this ties into something psychologists call cognitive reserve. Essentially, you're building up your brain's resilience to age-related decline.
Wow, so reading is like an investment in your long-term brain health.
You could say that the more you challenge your brain through activities like reading, the more reserves you build up.
That's pretty amazing. So reading isn't just a fun pastime, it's like a proactive way to stay sharp as you age.
Absolutely. And it's never too late to start.
Okay, but let's shift gears for a moment because this blog post also talks about how reading can help us relax and manage stress.
Wait, really?
Yeah, I was surprised too, but it makes sense when you think about it.
How so?
Well, when you're engrossed in a good book, your mind is completely focused on the story.
You're escaping from the everyday pressures and worries.
Right. It's like a mini vacation for your mind, allowing your stress levels to decrease.
It's like hitting a mental pause button.
Exactly. And I've found that, for me at least, sometimes getting lost in a fictional world is way more relaxing than, zoning out in front of the TV.
I can see that. But this blog post also mentions something about reading making us more empathetic.
It does, and I'm really curious to hear your thoughts on that.
Well, think about it. When you read, especially fiction, you're stepping into the shoes of characters who might be completely different from you.
Right. They have different experiences, different backgrounds, different perspectives.
And you're exposed to their thoughts, their emotions, their motivations. It forces you to consider viewpoints that might challenge your own assumptions.
That's so true. But how does that translate into real-world empathy?
Well, I think it expands your capacity for understanding human behavior. You're essentially building your emotional vocabulary.
So it's not just about understanding the characters in a book.
No, it's about developing a deeper understanding of the people around you in your everyday life.
That's incredible. And this blog post actually links this to the development of emotional intelligence.
Ah, yes, which is so important in our increasingly interconnected world.
Right. Being able to recognize and understand not just your own emotions, but the emotions of others.
Exactly. And it plays such a crucial role in effective communication, in building strong relationships, in just navigating social situations successfully.
It's like reading is giving us a secret weapon for social success.
You could say that. It's helping us develop those soft skills that are becoming more and more valuable in today's world.
This is making me want to grab a book right now and just dive in. Okay, so far we've talked about vocabulary, brain power, relaxation, and empathy. What else does this blog post have in store for us?
Well, there's so much more to unpack. But before we dive into the next part, I'm curious to hear what's resonating with you so far.
Yeah, what's sparking your curiosity? We'll be back soon to continue our exploration of the amazing world of reading. Welcome back, book lovers. We were just talking about how reading can spark creativity and imagination.
Right. Taking us to new worlds and possibilities.
Totally. But I think there's another layer to that, how reading can be a powerful tool for personal growth.
Yeah, I see what you mean.
Like, it's not just about gaining knowledge or information, it's about how we can apply that to our lives.
It's about using it to help us grow and evolve.
Exact. I remember when I was going through a really tough time, like a few years back.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. I instinctively turned to books, for guidance.
Like you were looking for answers or support?
Exactly. I was drawn to memoirs, self-help books, anything that could offer some wisdom.
It's amazing how books can provide that, that sense of connection and support, especially when we need it most.
It's true. It was like having a wise mentor or a trusted friend right there in my hands.
Yeah, offering insights and encouragement exactly when you need it.
And I've noticed that different genres can offer different types of growth,
Absolutely.
Like reading philosophical works really challenges my beliefs and assumptions.
It pushes you to think more critically about the world.
Yes. And I think the blog post touches on this idea of intellectual growth, too.
It's about expanding our understanding of the world.
Yeah. Grappling with complex ideas, developing our own unique perspectives.
It's not about blindly accepting what we read.
No. It's about engaging with it critically.
Forming our own informed opinions.
Right. And the blog post really emphasizes reading diverse perspectives.
It's so important to expose ourselves to different viewpoints.
Yeah. It helps us avoid those echo chambers.
And develop a more nuanced understanding of, everything, really.
It's true. It's like opening windows to different worlds and letting all those fresh ideas circulate.
And that open-mindedness, that's incredibly valuable in today's world.
For sure. But speaking of valuable skills, this blog post also highlights a more practical benefit.
Okay, with that?
The impact reading has on our own writing.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, the more I read, the more I notice how different writers use language.
Right, how they structure their arguments, how they craft those compelling narratives.
It's like osmosis,
Yeah.
You immerse yourself in good writing, and you start to absorb those techniques.
You're learning by example.
Exactly. And it goes beyond just grammar and vocabulary.
It's about absorbing those subtle nuances of storytelling, like the pacing, the tone.
The way writers create suspense or evoke emotion.
And let's be real, being able to communicate effectively in writing is a huge asset these days.
Oh, for sure. Whether it's writing a persuasive email or crafting a captivating social media post, it's a valuable skill.
But what really stood out to me in this blog post is how it emphasizes that reading isn't just about acquiring knowledge or skills.
Okay, I'm intrigued.
It's about nurturing our overall well-being, like our mental and emotional health.
I think that's something people often overlook.
Totally. There's something so restorative about losing yourself in a good book.
It allows you to disconnect from the constant stimulation of the outside world.
It's like a mini vacation for your mind.
And in our hyper-connected world, I think that's more important than ever.
I agree. We're constantly bombarded with information,
It can be so draining.
Reading offers a way to slow down, unplug, and recharge.
To reconnect with ourselves.
And beyond relaxation, reading can be a source of inspiration, too.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, think about a biography of someone who overcame incredible obstacles.
Or a novel that explores the complexities of the human spirit.
Right. It can remind us of our own resilience, our own potential.
It can offer a fresh perspective.
And sometimes, just escaping into a fictional world can provide that much-needed break from reality.
It's like giving our minds permission to wander and explore.
To imagine. So we've covered a lot here, from the cognitive benefits to the emotional and even spiritual nourishment that reading provides.
It's amazing how much reading can impact our lives.
But we both know that even the most dedicated bookworms can struggle to make time for reading.
Especially with our busy lives.
What advice would you give to someone who wants to read more but feels overwhelmed by their schedule?
I think it's important to remember that even small chunks of time can add up.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be hours at a time.
Exactly. Maybe it's reading a few pages before bed.
Listening to an audiobook during your commute?
Or even just swapping out social media, scrolling for 10 minutes of reading.
Those little pockets of time can make a big difference.
Absolutely. It's about being intentional with the time we do have.
Welcome back to the deep dive. We've been exploring all the ways reading can benefit our lives, personally.
Yeah, all those individual benefits.
Right. But now I'm curious about, the bigger picture.
Okay, I see where you're going.
How does reading, or maybe a culture of reading, impact society as a whole?
That's a great question, and it's one that's been discussed for a long time, I mean, there's a strong argument that a well-read population is crucial for a healthy democracy.
Makes sense. A society where people are engaged with ideas and different viewpoints, and they're able to think critically.
Exactly. That kind of society is more likely to make informed decisions, hold its leaders accountable.
It's not just about voting, right?
No, not at all. It's about understanding the issues, engaging in thoughtful debates, working together.
To find solutions.
Exactly. And, reading goes beyond just civic issues.
Oh, how so?
It helps us understand each other better, people from different backgrounds.
Oh, yeah, empathy.
Right. Literature can be a powerful bridge across cultures, helping us step into someone else's shoes.
I love that analogy, like that saying, don't judge someone until you've walked a mile in their shoes.
Exactly. Reading lets us do that metaphorically.
We get to see the world through different lenses.
And develop a deeper understanding of what it means to be human, in all its complexity.
That's so important for creating a more tolerant and compassionate society.
A more inclusive society.
Right, where we see our common humanity despite our differences.
Exactly. Now, thinking about it, reading can be a powerful force for social change, too.
Oh, yeah. Throughout history, books have played a role in that, right?
Absolutely. Raising awareness about injustice, challenging the status quo, sparking movements.
Think about the books that have exposed corruption or shed light on the stories of marginalized communities.
Those books have had a profound impact on how we see the world.
It's like they plant the seeds for a more just and equitable society.
They can inspire us to fight for a better world.
So we've talked about the impact on individuals and society.
Right, that bigger picture.
But what about the future of books themselves? I mean, with all the digital technology, some people think print books are becoming obsolete.
It's an interesting question, for sure. And I think it's good to remember that different formats serve different purposes,
Like ebooks and audiobooks.
Exactly. They're convenient, portable, often more affordable.
Right. And they make reading accessible for people who might have difficulty with print books.
People with visual impairments, learning disabilities.
It opens up a whole world for them.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But there's still something special about reading a physical book for a lot of people.
That tactile experience.
It's sensory. It engages us differently.
It's that feeling of turning the pages, holding the book, even the smell of the paper.
Right. And then there's that sense of permanence.
Ownership.
You can keep a physical book on your shelf, revisit it years later.
You can even pass it down to future generations.
It becomes a part of your story.
And, I've heard people say they interact with physical books differently.
How so?
They underline passages, make notes in the margins, really engage with the text.
It becomes a conversation with the author almost.
I love that idea. The book becomes a living document.
Evolving with each reader.
And there's something about the ritual of reading a physical book, too.
Like choosing a cozy spot, settling in with a cup of tea, turning off your phone.
It's a mindful experience.
Creating a space for yourself and the story.
It's like a deliberate act of disconnecting from the digital world.
And reconnecting with something tangible.
I think it's safe to say that both print and digital will stick around.
Catering to different needs and preferences.
It's kind of like music, We still have vinyl, CDs, and streaming services.
All those options exist, but ultimately what matters is that people are engaging with music.
And I think the same goes for books.
The beauty is in the variety, in the choice.
So as we wrap up this deep dive into reading, I'm just in awe of the power of books.
Me too. They can transform lives and the world.
From expanding our minds and fostering empathy to inspiring social change and providing comfort.
Reading is truly a gift.
It's a journey of discovery, a source of endless fascination.
The vital tool for growth, both personal and societal.
To all our listeners out there, keep exploring, keep reading, and keep those pages turning.
Happy reading, everyone!